What is ruining most relationships nowadays? Lack of communication, the fact that it can take minutes to download an app, have a profile and be matching with others, so fact people are so easy to give up argument and it's over. One thing they don't like about with all this social media, influencers making them believe they can achieve better, that somehow perfection is above 6 feet, with 6 figures, great body, etc., and that they deserve that when not even one of men are that, giving them unrealistic expectations and such insane high standards. Lack of communication. So many times I see here that most things could be avoided by communicating. The sad part is, if people were better at communicating early on instead of trotting on the line of being compatible or not, you'd find out early on you're not compatible and not waste either person's time and not worry about the future. Yeah, there are compromises, but there are some hard stops as well. Knowing what those are before going into a years-long relationship should be the most important thing. I'd say that, from my perspective, as educational requirements for most fields increase and the economy gets worse and less stable, the need to prioritize first education and then career up to your late 20s or early 30s is a big obstacle, especially if someone is at least somewhat ambitious or if your field of choice is not a super popular one. It makes it harder to be able and willing to fully commit when you don't have the required short to medium-term stability necessary to get over the first struggles. Unrealistic expectations. People these days are expected to be perfect, not a single flaw. It's not just in romantic relationships but in acquaintances too. Any hint of a trait which could be red flagged is used as a crack to split relationships apart. In the olden days it was a bit more accepted that people were just a bundle of flaws loosely held together with baling twine. Now we all have to be golden flawless gods with zero unacceptable opinions or behaviors. It's totally unrealistic. Women's expectations and standards have risen to an almost nonsensical degree. Part of it is because of affirmative action day policies. Women are earning 50 more college degrees than men do, for example, and they refuse to date someone uneducated or below their education level and earning potential. And obviously the most important aspect is social media and online dating. They're fundamentally skewed in a way that creates endless attention for women, which further inflates their standards. Unrealistic expectations from social media had a girl all over her friends on Facebook. Every weekend someone was up to something glamorous and expected that should be her. One friend would take a holiday, another would go to a top restaurant, another would go to the beach. In her mind it was the one person doing everything and she deserved to have it. As in, every weekend was supposed to be something amazing, and of course, not nowadays, but always people not seeing or seeking to understand how their childhood impacts on their relationship patterns, and how prone we are as human beings to replicate past situations, especially unresolved ones. So we project a lot of our baggage onto our partner, then get frustrated when they don't resolve it for us. It helps so much to be aware of when and why you're doing this, so you can choose to do it differently. Social media. I don't think it's the sole contributor by any means, but a large contributor nonetheless. I think social media has driven a state of constant comparison and a general feeling of lack in people that has bled over into how people view their relationships. Not to mention the absurd amount of toxic relationship advice that circulates on social media that just perpetuates a lack of self-accountability and self-awareness, assuming something is done with malice when it is not. Sometimes people become so close or enmeshed, they believe they know the other person's intent and thoughts. Instead of asking for clarification or instead of listening to one another and caring or showing empathy towards the other person, everything becomes an accusation. This becomes worse over time, as there are actual misunderstandings or mistakes that cause hurt. I really think it's a lack of communication, coupled with misunderstanding. I'm not much of a chatterbox, and sometimes folks mistake that for me being all meh and uninterested. But that's really not the case. I might not spill my thoughts all over the place, but my heart's got a lot to say. That's why I'm trying my very best nowadays to be more expressive before all those relationships that I had built go down the drain. Obsession. Am I the best in bed? Do you love me more than your ex? Hypothetical questions like who would save in a fire, your kid animal or me? Why did you like Friends post more than mine? It has to stop. It's unhealthy. In this age of instant gratification on social media, you have to understand that doesn't translate into real life. Obsession creates jealousy, jealousy creates resentment, resentment kills relationships. Social media posts that give unrealistic expectations and set horrible doubts and negative feelings for one another. Many algorithms cater to what gets clicks and views, and unfortunately a lot of negative stuff goes around. people proudly admitting to cheating, people posting about not trusting the partner, if they don't do X, Y, Z for you then just leave it ain't worth it type posts. Social media, lack of maturity, lack of communication, lack of respect and empathy for others, lack of genuine feelings towards the other person. Nowadays people are more inclined to go merely by what can I get out of this without investing anything mentality, alarm on someone committed to them and have the perks of a relationship while carrying out the single life mentality. The internet and social media. Everyone's comparing other people's highlight reel while living their blooper reel. Oh look, she seems happy, look what her husband does for her, oh my goodness. They might piece of crap boyfriend doesn't do any of that stuff. Oh look how hot his girlfriend is, my girlfriend's just average, I could get a hot girlfriend too. So many things. But for me, my divorce was very much due to focusing on the end goal instead of the relationship. And not trusting myself in what I need. I've now realized how I went into all of my previous relationships thinking that success was getting married and having kids, not happiness. I'm flipping that as I get back to dating. Communication is the obvious one, but I think social media hinders things. You see celebrities being unfaithful, you see person after person on TikTok saying things like if he wanted to, he would. If he's starting to work out he's cheating or doesn't like you anymore. It breeds paranoia, it's not healthy. Honorable mentions. 1. Poor examples of relationships from our caregivers. 2. Poverty and the domino effect of the stress it causes. 3. Social media and dating apps making it seem so easy for one partner to have their cake while eating another cake. 4. Almost everyone past a certain age is a single parent. Texting and chatting is often ruining relationships nowadays. You're basically 100 of the time with that person. OFC, you're going to be annoyed by them or you will find nothing to talk about and lose interest at some point, or vice versa. Having their location also makes you question a ton of stuff. Impatience. Shifting responsibility. Selfishness and the desire to live at your own pleasure. Love has become an emotion for people. But many have forgotten that love is to compromise, to help and support, in some situations, to put the interests of the partner above their own. The moral and cultural decline of society, which has created generations of self-absorbed narcissistic hedonists afraid to take the necessary risks required to open up to someone in the meaningful ways required to move the relationship past satisfaction of immediate bodily pleasures. No respect for boundaries and lack of trust. I've seen a lot of couples sharing social media accounts and it's quite hideous. If you don't trust someone enough, then don't date them. Being in a relationship doesn't automatically mean sacrificing your privacy and self-respect. Social media. There's a multitude of things that cause problems in a relationship via social media, but the pressure of posting about one another. Why has it become so important to post about yourself instead of telling them how you feel and what you mean to them in person? There is no way this isn't a very multifaceted answer. There are so many different reasons a relationship sours even with just one couple. How could anyone assume to know the reason for many different relationships? We could all guess based on our own experiences. Unwillingness to change and always thinking you're in the right and you're perfect as you are, and if someone says otherwise they just can't handle you. Someone is a shitty rude person who can't keep a long-term partner turns to don't worry, they just can't handle you. The abundance of options, attention from social media, everyone wants to only date the most attractive people and the rest are left alone. Cheating has become the norm. Everyone is scarred from their previous relationships and lets those affect their future ones. A lot of people have said this, but the illusion of choice. It happens with women, but mostly men. There are 100 beautiful women to one beautiful man nowadays. Yet they seem to think they're able to swap out their partners for the newest model way too often. Studies show that one major contributing factor is the lingering illusion of choice. There is always this unhealthy delusion to miss out on an even better opportunity, which makes people less patient about small problems and more picky. Lack of accountability and responsibility for one's own behavior and communication. Also that we don't need each other anymore to survive, and that the media suggests our options to get other and better partners are unlimited. The hookup culture and people only wanting a relationship for sex. I want a meaningful relationship where I am not liked just for my body. Thankfully I got lucky and have a wonderful boyfriend who loves me for who I am. I think a big part of it is social media. People get addicted to the attention. They keep comparing what they have to a fake image of what others have. They're tempted more than ever before to be unfaithfully as well. Thanks to social media and internet, there's people getting together that would never start dating if they had met in real life. This doesn't last long in most cases. Chemistry is crucial to put up with someone. People are too insecure to communicate clearly and confidently. People put too much value in external ideas of what their relationship should feel like instead of going off of their own feelings and intuition. Lack of personal accountability, no growth mindset, differences of values and lack of at least 50 compatibility for most important things, making one's partner his or her whole world, and yes, social media, no substance. People get together based on attraction and lots of flirting. Eventually once that fades, people realize they don't even like each other, get along or have any connection things in common. Main character syndrome. It used to be called selfishness. Now that has been clouded by setting personal boundaries. So I think people understand that term better. We are all NPCs to everyone else. Past unresolved trauma is a huge one that I think breaks out into the form of 1. Not being able to communicate, comprehend. 2. Self-sabotaging actions. 3. Trust issues. Could go on and on about this. People searching for butterflies or exciting relationships because they are used to toxic and abusive relationships, that normal and healthy relationships is boring. At least that's what I heard. Making a person an option, shelving them for later, being emotionally unavailable, using a partner for their wants and needs, social media, hookup culture, giving up, instead of communicating. Instant gratification and lack of self-esteem perpetuated by a system that divides us and convinces us that if we aren't the center of the entire universe then everyone else is bad and toxic. It's been a while, so non-commitment is what I've seen personally. Like wanting something serious is a bad, casual is a waste of my time. I want the one. Not the one right now.